If you're a mom that deals with or struggles with mom guilt on occasion, I think you're going to enjoy this video because it's for you. I want to talk to you. I want to just come pretend like you're sitting right here on this couch next to me. We're going to have a quick chat about mom guilt and how it doesn't serve you. Um, if you're new here, my name is Dr. Amber Wright. I am an executive life coach who helps women close the gap between knowing and saying their truths. I'm also a communication expert and a keynote speaker who helps organizations invest in their people by having healthy communication practices. And this channel, though, is less about my work. It's more about me as a person. So it seems as I'm, finding my way through here. But I'm reporting live from a different location because I'm not at home. I'm away on a weekend getaway that I do once a quarter, just for myself, by myself. No husband, no kids, no friends, just me. I even tell my friends, that hey, I'm gonna be out or like off the grid, so it'll tamp down on text messages and voice notes and all that. And I've been doing this now consistently for. I started doing it in 2023, but I became intentional about it in 24, and I've been consistent about it since then. Um, my kids are 15 and 10 years old at the age of this recording, and I love being a mom. I love being their mom. And this is something that I want to talk more about on this channel, is just as I share more about my lived experience. Like, let me find out I'm over here vlogging. Oh, I'm about to be a vlogger. Anyway. I don't talk a lot about my mothering journey and my parenting journey with my husband and I. And I want to, because not because I feel like I've done it perfectly, because I haven't, or that I'm doing it perfectly, because I'm not. But I'm really proud of my relationship with my children, and I really love our family dynamic. And we are a talking household. We talk about our feelings, and we just treat them with respect and as human beings that deserve respect and who deserve to be listened to, and all of the lessons that we want them to learn in life, we teach them that at home, because it starts at home. And when I talk to other moms about my experience as a mom, they seem to get a lot out of it. So I want to just talk more about it in the hopes that it might help someone else on their parenting journey, because we need community in that way, and finding ways to support each other. So that's kind of like my intention with this video. I'm here, and how I got into this was back in 23. My therapist asked me, did I know what, like she said, Amber, what does rest mean to you? And I had no answer. And I didn't like that I didn't have an answer. It bothered me that I didn't really know how to rest. So I set out on this quest of learning what that meant to me, and part of that included going away on, by myself and taking time to myself. And so that was not a new concept for me as a mom. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my own journey with mom guilt in a second. But how these trips became so important to me is because I'd done it a couple of times that year, and I really enjoyed myself, and I decided that I wanted to be more intentional about it. And so that meant I had to plan for it, I had to budget for it, and really incorporate it into my life to make sure that it happened. And now, a couple of years later, my husband knows, he gets it, he understands, he's supportive, as are the girls, my kids. And it's just been like my own kind of form of travel therapy, if you will. And it's just been such a gift to my life and to my well-being. And so I get a lot of questions from people about, like, well, how do you manage that? And what do you mean you go away? And for other moms, they kind of, their eyes bug out and they lean forward, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like, tell me more about how you're able to do this. Like, oh, I'm so jealous. I feel like I could never do this. And I want to talk about all of that. And so I'm here, and this hotel is so nice. And they upgraded my room when I got here, and I'm in this like beautiful suite. And this is like a whole studio apartment. I should give you a tour, but I'm not good at doing like two things at one time. If I'm gonna talk to you, I gotta talk to you just directly. If I had to try to talk to you and do the little tour with the camera, and then I'm fumbling with the camera, it's too much. So just trust me when I say that this place is gorgeous. It's comfortable. It's clean, and I'm about 2 hours or so away from my house. So like, I'm not even that far from home, but I'm just far enough away to where I could retreat, like feel like I'm retreating. I also had some work to do this weekend. I don't always work on these trips. As a matter of fact, I try my best not to. But the work that I had to do was making some edits and updates to my book proposal. And I have not been able to prioritize that because when you're in the day to day and you're just dealing with life, you have distractions and you just can't focus on everything. So having this dedicated time to focus specifically on that, I think was a good decision. So I decided to also sit here and talk to you about it because I just feel so giddy. Oh my God. These trips are like when you need a massage or you get a massage after you haven't had one in a long time and you just forgot how good it feels and how badly you needed it and how good it can be for your body and for your circulation and relaxation. Like that's what this feels like to me. And so I could float off the ground. I'm just so happy. And this is my second night and I have one more and I'll go home. But anyway, let's talk about mom guilt. So, where this journey began for me was maybe 2012, 13. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a long time, but I remember what was going on. Um, my second one was born in 2015, so I can't recall if she was already born yet. That's how long it's been. But anyway, I remember feeling so stressed. I was just literally stressed to my max. I was feeling like I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to get the business off the ground and working full time and just, overcommitted in so many ways. And I just was stressed. And I remember saying, like, I really wish I could just get out of here. like I was in prison. I was like, I just wish I could get out of here. And I looked it up on the internet and I was like, what if I did? What if I just got out of here for one night? Like, and the more I started to think about it, the more I just was like, yes, I have to do this. And this really wasn't in my behavior because I just typically and historically have not been a spontaneous person. But that day I knew like I needed a break and something that felt like tangible for me. So I remember going to my husband and I was like, look, I have to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to book a hotel room and spend the night by myself. And I'm going to leave these kids here with you. Maybe if it was the second one, I don't remember. But I said, I'm going to leave the kids and I'm going to go. And he was just like, okay. Like he didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to make of it because I also wasn't asking like, was it okay? Or is it in the budget or whatever? I was like, no, I need to do this. And I never forget, we lived in Carson, California, like just right next to Long Beach, California, where I'm from. And I booked a hotel room at the Westin Pasadena in Pasadena, California. So it was like 45-minute drive with no traffic from where I lived. And it was just far enough away to where I was like out of the way, but like not at home. And I remember it vividly. I checked into that hotel. And that same sense of giddiness that I feel today, I felt then for the first time. I went to the California Pizza Kitchen for dinner that night, and I remember I had a drink. I had like a cocktail with my dinner, and I'm not even really much of a drinker, but just because I could, like I did. And what I want to say is that doesn't mean that I couldn't have done that before, but there was just something about like ordering whatever you want and just kind of like not having anyone else to think about. And I just was like rubbing my feet together in the sheets, in the bed, at the hotel, and I could watch what I wanted on TV. I went and got a massage that day. Whatever I wanted to do, like whatever whim came upon me, I answered it. And that was such a profound lesson for me because I realized that the sound of my own voice, like in my truest desires, had been muted. I didn't make a habit of like really listening to myself and answering to my whims and just doing things spontaneously, and just because like I just, that was not part of how I lived at the time. And I couldn't even recognize the sound of my own voice internally anymore. It was really the outcome of that. And it felt so fantastic for just those 24 hours. Well, technically, it was like the afternoon, the first day. I spent the night, and then like a full day, the second day. Like maybe I came home around 3 o'clock or so the next day. But oh, I drove home that next day feeling like a whole new person. And I couldn't have imagined that just 24 hours to myself could ignite such a change in me energetically. But I held on to that feeling and the memory of that feeling. And I was like, I'm going to do this more often. And I didn't make it a practice then, but that was when the practice of Amber Appreciation Days was born. And that's what I call them, Amber Appreciation Days, because it's great if everyone else shows me appreciation, but I can't bank on that. I've got to appreciate myself. I want to thank myself. Okay. So that's when Amber Appreciation Days were born. And I started to say, okay, well, maybe I can just go to lunch. Like if I can't always go spend the night away by myself, like what else can I do to just have some time to myself? And that's when my self-care practice really started to take shape, and me learning how to pay attention to my inner voice and my own needs and desires and answer to them, and not be afraid to answer to them and to honor them. It was how I really learned. It was one of the ways in which I learned how to trust myself more. And when we practice in some of those smaller moments, that's when the bigger moments, when you have to make a big decision, you flex that muscle enough times so when it really, really matters, you have confidence, and you feel ready and capable of taking whatever step you need to take, because you can hear yourself and you can hear your voice. And I just think I want that for everybody. When we have all of these titles and roles and responsibilities that we tend to wear or carry as women, we really can lose ourselves in that. And I've been there. And so this was how I started to kind of like emerge out of the rubble of all of that. And it's something that I've held close to since then, even though it wasn't until just 3 years ago that this specific practice of travel therapy, as I call it, became an integral part of my life, as I've built out my self-care kit or toolkit, if you will. So that happened. And then there was another time specifically about mom guilt. My teenager was 4 years old at the time. And I was going away to Oakland, California to visit my girlfriend. And I was traveling with another friend. So it was going to be three of us together. And so the two of us were going up north to visit our friend. And it was the first time I was traveling that like wasn't for work, that I was like getting on a plane for. And I was still new to mothering at the time. And I figured it would be fine, but I had reservations, but not a ton. I was ready to do that. I was excited about going on this trip. And so my oldest at the time, she got in my suitcase as I was packing my bag, and she starts to cry. And she's like, "Mommy, don't leave me." And I said, okay, here we go. Cue up the mom guilt parade. Okay, strike up the band, the mom guilt band, strike them up. And I paused for a second and I watched my little girl sit there with these big doe eyes and these tears streaming down her face, like begging me not to leave. And I took a deep breath and I got down on the floor where she was. And while she was still sitting in my suitcase, she was sitting like cross-legged inside of the suitcase because they're so dramatic. But anyway, I said, "Honey, you don't want mommy to go?" And she was like, "No, mommy." I said, "Why?" I said, "Why not?" And she was like, "I just don't want you to leave me." And I said, "Okay. Well, sweetie, do you remember when you went to your friend's birthday party a couple of weeks ago, where did we go? And she said, Chuck E. Cheese. I said, yeah, remember we went to Chuck E. Cheese? Wasn't that so much fun? And she said, yeah. I said, and what did we do while we were at Chuck E. Cheese? She was like, oh, I played with my tokens and we ate pizza and we had games. I said, yeah, wasn't that so much fun? And she said, yeah, mommy, it was. So now she stopped crying because she's reminiscing about her jaunt to Chuck E. Cheese for her friend's birthday party. And I said to her, well, honey, mommy's going away, but she's going to go be with her friends. And we're going to have the same kind of fun, except we're just not going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. And she looked and she kind of pondered that and was like, well, okay then, girl, go have some fun. Like her whole demeanor changed because I met her where she was at the point of her understanding as to why mom needed to also have fun with her friends too, just like she got to do. And that was a turning point for the both of us, I would say. I knew then that to feel guilty and to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go. What if she needs me? Blah, blah, blah. That was all stuff that I would have been, tapes I would have been playing in my mind or stories I would have been telling myself. Then that would have sent her the message that once she could give me her feelings. I won't say manipulate me because I don't think she was trying to manipulate me at 4 years old. But that if she was sad enough, mom would change her mind. And I also wanted her to know and to see that I get to have fun too. I do. And I went, and my friends and I had a blast. It was one of the first times that I could remember in my mothering journey that I got to be myself, like just myself again. I was the first of my friend group to get married, and the first to have a child. And so that journey of becoming a mom and just like that time in my life was really lonely and it was isolating, and it was how I actually got into blogging, and blogging is what laid the path down for my business to become what it has today. And I just remember reading blogs of different women across the country, across the world, really. That golden era of blogging was such a wonderful time because we were just learning about each other and our different lives and being first-time moms or second-time moms or stepmoms or whatever. It just was, the mommy blogging era. And some of my closest friends to this day, my best friend I met during that time. And that was how I was able to find community, because I didn't have it locally based upon my friend group. So I had to be really intentional and mindful of making mom friends and people who understood the journey that I was on. And in that moment in time with her sitting in the suitcase, like, again, that was a turning point for me to say, like, mom guilt doesn't serve me. Like, that doesn't help me to sit here and feel guilty and not go to Oakland and spend time with my friends because I think my kid won't be okay if I leave. What that did was showed my husband that I trusted him to be responsible for her care. And it gave him a chance to, build his own relationship with her, and which he already had because he was a stay-at-home dad at the time. By then he had gone back to work. This was all around the time of the Great Recession, so some of the details are a little fuzzy. But while he was laid off during the Great Recession, he was a stay-at-home dad and a full-time student. He went back to college and got his bachelor's degree and stuff during that time. So they already had their own bond, but I was always there and just in present. And so this gave them a chance for him to just be responsible for her and to call his mama if he needed help, because, we were very close I still am very close to his mom. So that was how that worked out. And I went and I had a wonderful time, and I needed that time, very similarly to what I said at the start of this about how I feel here. Just that sense of giddiness of I'm free. I can do what I wanted to. I can be by myself. I can hang out. We can drink. We can laugh. We can do whatever. And that trip was really memorable for me for so many reasons, those being primary. And I've just carried that forward all these years later. So maybe you are in that same kind of seat where you don't feel or believe that you deserve a break, even though you know you really want one and you need one, but you won't ask for it or you won't take it because you're waiting for your partner to be like, oh, I see how hard you're working. You should take a break. And that's great if you have a partner that is attentive in that way who will do that. But will they do it often enough to where you get the rest and the restoration that you need? You are the person that is responsible for that. And also, as a mom, I want to pose to you, what lesson are you sending to your children? In the sense that I believe that I do my kids a disservice by not having a life of my own. And I tell people all the time, my kids are my everything, but not my only thing. Because it's true, my kids are my everything, but they're not my only thing. I'm a multifaceted, multidimensional person, just like anybody else. And I want them to be used to seeing me in my humanity as a grown woman, as a person. Yes, I'm mommy, but also I'm a person. And you know what that's like, where you grow up and I call it the age of accountability, when you realize that your parents are people and not just your parents. That can be an epiphany for a lot of people. And I want my children to grow up knowing and being able to reflect on how loved they felt by me and how present I was for them, but how I also didn't depend on them for my happiness. They add to my happiness, but they don't define it. Just like my partnership adds to my happiness, but it doesn't define it. Like, that's up to me. It's my job to know what makes me happy and go and pursue those things. And so now, all these years later, still spending time stepping off the ride of my life, because what a roller coaster it is between the marriage and the kids and school. And they're in a real tender age right now, because the teenager is a freshman in high school and the little one is in elementary school. And so they need me to be present. Like, I'm mommy, boots on the ground. Okay. Because this is just a tender season for all of us, and I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss what's happening in their lives. So when I'm home, I'm dialed in, I'm fully present. And I always say that my office is like the upstairs living room, because my office is upstairs. It's where we all gather and hang out. So where you typically see my videos, where I'm in my lady lounge with the blue wall, or the teal wall, that is where we convene. And so the husband will come in and say, hey, do you need anything? You want a cup of tea? Or you're all right? And then me and him will chit chat, and then he'll walk out. And then 5 minutes later, here comes the little one. Hey, mommy, what are you doing? And she'll just sit and lay on the floor, and she'll, bring her iPad in there and come sit on the couch. And now I'm chit chatting with her. And then when she's done with me, she'll get up and leave. Then here comes a teenager, and then she's twirling and telling me the tea for the day, what happened at school, and oh my God, what happened on school lesson, blah, blah, blah. And it's like this constant carousel of people in and out of my space. And while I love it, it also can eat away at my patience. Okay. So, because none of them realized that just 5 minutes ago someone else was in there. So anyway, all of that to say that I want you to think differently about, if this is you, right? If this ain't you, you're good. But I'm talking to the woman, or the, whoever, but particularly mom, because we're talking about mom guilt, who say that, like, well, I just couldn't, because my kid. And I'm like, okay, well, then you're training them to depend on you for everything, and to also not see that you are a dynamic person that has a life and interests and things that light them up beyond them. So when it's time for them to leave the nest, they will have the courage and the confidence to do so, because they know that you'll be okay. But if you train them to believe now that all you're there for is to tend to their every, beck and call, then that's what you're going to get in return. And this is not to comment on your mothering in a negative way. If you choose to mother in that way and to parent in that way, but I just want to offer an invitation for you to consider the impact of not taking time to yourself. So you may not need quarterly solo trips like I take. That just may not interest you, but whatever that is for you, put your own Insert your name, Appreciation Day, on your calendar and take an hour even to yourself because you deserve that. Go to your local cafe, your favorite coffee shop, or tea house. Go get some French fries and just eat them slowly so you don't have to share. Okay? Take a class for sewing or knitting. Join a book club. I don't know. But the message here and the goal here is for you to put down mom guilt in a way that doesn't serve you and find a way to have a life and stay in touch with yourself. I think that's more than anything what I want you to know. Stay in touch with yourself and who you are and the parts of yourself that you might have lost in the mothering journey, as much as you may love it. And maybe you don't love it, because parenting is hard work, okay? It is hard. But this is where we are. And you get to decide how you want things to go for you. And I wish you well on that journey. So thank you for indulging me as I'm up here playing a vlogger, okay? Sitting here on my couch. I brought my camera because I think for this reason, I was just like, well, what if I wanted to just sit down and then chat and do a quick little video? And I was like, oh, I did it. So hopefully I post this. If you enjoyed it or you got something out of it, please let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do so. Come hang out with me here on YouTube as I continue on this journey of figuring out what I want this channel to be. And this will happen because I'm staying focused, right? So the more consistent I become with this and the more we build community and we engage and we learn and we support each other, when I pop, wherever that looks like, here on YouTube or otherwise, y'all gonna be able to say, I remember when Dr. Amber just started redoing her channel, doing her videos, and now look at her. That's how I feel about people like Duran Bernard, who just won a Grammy. I remember watching his crispy chicken video doing a parody of the Mary J. Blige Burger King crispy chicken commercial 1,000 years ago. Now he just won his first Grammy. God bless him. And same thing with Tori Kelly. I used to watch her channels when she was a teenager, playing her guitar in her bedroom, singing songs to the Lord. And now look, she's got multiple Grammys and she's just done so many wonderful things since then. So I think it's something special when it's quiet as you're building, and then people can say I remember when. So thank you for indulging me again, like I said, and for spending this time with me. And I'll see you again in the next video.